All right. Welcome, everyone. Thank you all for joining us today. The following seminar is brought to you by iExplore. So I am honored to be introducing our seminar presenter today, Frank, who will be telling us all about web design. So Frank, it's all you.
Hello, people, and welcome to our web design actually fun. Well, it doesn't really rhyme, but I guess web design actually fun seminar. And today we're going to be learning some, well, of course, web design. But considering most of you haven't really, doesn't really know programming, I'll make this crash course so that you guys can get hands-on really quickly. But actually, before we can do that, I would have to introduce you to some. Okay, I don't know why it's not working. I would have to introduce you to some basic knowledge of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So we're gonna start from there, and let me see if this works. Oh, it didn't. Okay, well. All right, so starting our seminar today, I'll be first introducing you to HTML, or the skeleton of the web page. So I like to think of your whole web page as kind of like a body, like yourself. We have three parts to all of the web pages: the skeleton, I call it the clothes, and the limbs, or your hands and your feet. What this means is that this corresponds to separately HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. And as I've said, HTML is like the skeleton of the web page, and we'll be introducing CSS, the clothes, later, and JavaScript, the limbs, well, after that. All right, so diving right into HTML, I'm just going to show you one small piece of code that actually works, but it's so short that I don't even think you guys would think it worked, because it looks like this. Well, guys, this is HTML. I mean, probably looks easier than you thought it would be, but probably some of you guys would be like, what the heck is this guy talking about? Like, what is this? I mean, well, I'll help you a little bit by explaining what each of these means. But as you can see, it usually looks something like this. So diving right into it, the syntax of HTML is, well, the base element of one HTML element is a tag. So, well, think of the tags you see when you go shopping. Like, the tag says it's it's a red T-shirt, or this tag says it's a blue, dress or something. Well, HTML works kind of like that, but the tags are a little bit different. The tags are usually, for example, links, or you're telling the browser basically, this is a link, this is a paragraph, this is a divider, or this is a picture, maybe a video, a piece of music, whatever it is. You write it inside the tag so that the browser knows what you're talking about. And between for each of these tags, there is going to be a so-called closing tag. And between this tag and closing tag is very easy. It's basically the same tag name, but you add a slash in front of it. So that's how we say you close it. You know what I mean? Like, you open it and you close it with a slash, but the exact same tag name would be used. And in between these tags is usually your content. Like, if you want to write a link that says, click on me and I will take you to Google. And you're gonna write, click on me and I will take you to Google inside here. And if you want, image is a self-closing tag. We'll talk about that later. If you want to, say, write a paragraph, you're just going to open the P, or paragraph tag. I'll talk about that later as well. You're just going to open the P tag and close the P tag. And in between this opening and closing P tag, you're going to write whatever you want to write in the paragraph. Cool? And I hope I'm not talking too fast, because I sometimes do that. For self-closing tags, we have a special kind of tags called self-closing tags. So these tags do not need a closing tag to close them because well, they don't really have content. And how we usually write it is we write this self-closing tag's name and we just write a slash and we close it. Oh, and also as you can see, all tags are wrapped around a less than symbol and a bigger than symbol. Well, I hope you guys have done that in math because you know, the alligator, I don't know what you guys use, like the alligator analogy or something. Less than, tag name, and bigger than, something like that. Cool. All right. So I mean, I hope all of us have eaten hamburger before, right? So what I would like to usually think of HTML documents, no matter how complicated they are like, well, hamburgers. They are layered, so they are some tags are in other tags. And for example, in this very tasty hamburger image I have, let's say the HTML tag is the outer bread of the hamburger. And when you put a top layer of bread, you'd have to put a bottom layer of bread as well. So so the top layer of bread is what we call the opening tag, and bottom layer of bread is called the closing tag. And in between these opening HTML and closing HTML, or the bread, you would have to put, well, you would have to put some meat or at least some lettuce in it, right? Otherwise it wouldn't be like a hamburger, it would just be like bread. So in between we would put lettuce or, oh, right, that's a pair of tags, as I explained. And in between we would put body tags. So body tags would be like the lettuce sort of in between the bread. And just like, well, just like our bread, you need to have a piece of lettuce on the top of the hamburger and a piece of lettuce on the bottom of the hamburger just before you put the final piece of bread. I hope that's kind of, well, that kind of helps explain a bit probably. And so this is what we call a pair of tags, and this is what we call another pair of tags. Well, I mean, both of them are pairs of tags, so I hope you could understand that easily. And in between these tags, we would have our meat, or the actual content that we're going to write. And that would be, in the previous example, hello world. I hope you guys know that joke, because hello world is what we write almost in every language when we first start programming. Well, that's kind of like an inside joke, but yeah, all right. So we have a couple of very useful tags that we use all the time. For example, we have this HTML tag, as I've explained. You have to put HTML tag in the beginning. Like, you need to have an HTML tag for every single document we write, because, well, if you don't write it, the document, well, the browser will think, oh, it's not an HTML, so I'm just gonna I don't know, export it as plain text or whatever. So it's just gonna result in a plain text document rather than an HTML web page that actually functions. So you need to have this HTML tag. And in between these HTML tag, you usually would have a body tag, because the body actually is the wrapper, well, the lattice that has all the stuff you want in it. Like, you know, you put, well, I would usually put bread and then lettuce and then whatever I want to eat, like tomatoes or meat or I don't know, cucumbers. And I will put another piece of lettuce on the bottom, which is a closing body tag. And I will put another piece of bread at the very bottom, which is the closing HTML tag. So we have HTML, body, whatever you want to write, closing body, and HTML, closing HTML. And before the body tag, but inside the HTML tag, so the space between, well, the what do you call it, the bread and the lettuce is what we call a head tag. So a head tag is not part of the actual ingredients of the burger. It's sort of like, think about it, the sauce. So if we would like to put ketchup or like honey mustard on your burger, that would be what inside the hat. So I mean, you wouldn't walk on the street and go into, say, Burger King and they will be telling you that, oh, our burger contains, well, meat and honey mustard and ketchup. No, because that's not really part of the ingredient. The main ingredients are like the meat, padding, the what do you call it? The cucumbers, the tomatoes, and the lettuce. So that's what is the actual content of the web page. And the head tag is kind of like, you know, it's not necessary, it's not required, but it's really suggested because, well, it contains a lot of very useful information about your web page. So say the title of the page, or so what we call meta information, or like, you know, who authored this page, who wrote this page, and you know, the description of this page, what this page is about. We write all of them inside the head tag. And if we have extra CSS and JavaScript, we would also put it in a head tag. So it's really important. And we have a p tag, which, as I've explained, it starts a paragraph. So in between an opening and closing p tag is whatever you want to write, a paragraph. And a div tag is a divider, or you can call it a container, but it doesn't really do much. It's just, you know, help you to categorize what each of your stuff is about. And we have h tags, which are headings. So h1 to h6. There's no h7, unfortunately, because I don't know, you don't need h7. You only need h1 to h6. Those are heading. And a b or strong tag make the content bold, so it's thicker than the rest of the content. And the I tag makes the content italic or slanted, whatever you wish to call it, but like not straight. U tag creates an underline. So in between the U tags, you would have something in underline. S tag or del tag creates a strike through line. So it has a line in the middle. And inside this, I don't know what we call it, exclamation mark and dash dash and blah, 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 and dash dash is a comment. So comments do not really appear on the page. It's just there to help you, you know, to identify what each part of your code is. But I don't know, if you run it, it won't actually show up. Okay, and I've talked about self-closing tags before, so I'm just gonna say it again here. So we have a couple of very useful self-closing tags that we use all the time. Again, we have BR, which starts a new line, HR, which means a horizontal line, image, which inserts an image, input, which defines an input area for a form. We'll be using that very soon. Link, which is used when importing CSS. So if you have like an external CSS, like a CSS file outside your HTML file, you will need that to import CSS. And meta, which, as I've explained, the meta information for our web page. So these are some of the important self-closing tags, but don't worry about them. We'll talk about them later. So now, explaining all these, back to our example, I hope it's easier for you to understand probably how these tags are, well, like a hamburger. You have HTML, body, hello world, closing body, and closing HTML. These 5 kind of parts of a hamburger. I hope it's easier for you to explain now. All right, next part we're going to dive into is CSS. So those are the clothes of the web page. So let's take a look at the CSS. CSS looks something like this. So we have body, and we have curly brackets, and in between them we have a declaration. This is what we call a declaration. So it says color red. So what does this mean? Well, if you are smart enough, I guess you could probably guess that this is probably talking about like body, the color of the body is red or something like that. Well, you're totally right. This is the syntax of our CSS document. So it usually goes like this. So selector, we need a selector in the front, and we open the curly brackets. And inside here, we would actually write, you know what, I'm just gonna copy and paste a lot of them so that, you know, it doesn't really, it isn't really as one. You can write as many as you want, as long as these properties are all valid. So you can have a lot of property value, property value, property value, property value, and all inside these curly brackets. You know, if you put all these inside this curly brackets, the navigator, the browser will know, well, all these property values are for this selector. And so you're probably wondering, like, what is a selector? Because that sounds unfamiliar. So we have a couple of selectors in CSS. We have a star symbol, which is called a universal selector. So what it does is it selects everything. So if you put a star here and you put a lot of property value in it, it's going to apply to all of the elements in your HTML document. So if you put like a star symbol and then you say color red, everything that you write is going to be red, no matter what it is, no matter if it's a paragraph or if it's a link or whatever it is, it's going to be red. That's our universal selector. And we can also use HTML tags as selectors. So we can use HTML, body, p tag, a tag, underline tag, I don't know, strike through tag, whatever tag. All tags can be used with CSS. And we can also have so-called IDs. So think of it as your ID identification card in your country. Every single ID is unique for each of you. But in HTML, we usually have something like this as ID. So we can have cat picture or dog picture, and you will declare like the ID is cat picture inside the HTML, and in CSS you can style the picture with a hashtag. So hashtag cat picture means, you know, the element that I'm going to select is the element with the ID cat picture, and hash dog picture means I'm going to select the element that has the ID of dog picture. Cool, I hope. And we can also have classes. So think of it like classes in your class, well, in your school. So a lot of students might belong to one class, and some students might belong to other classes. And well, it's also like, I don't know if you guys have clubs in your school. So say some students might be from different classes, but when they meet together, they can also be in one club. So classes are in HTML are kind of like a combination of these classes and this club. So you can have multiple classes on an element, and you can have classes reused. So you can have the same classes on many elements, and that's not available with IDs. So yeah, what we usually do with classes is we usually change a series of elements. So we usually change a lot of elements at one time, and that's thanks to classes. Anyway, classes begin with a period or dot. So you will see in CSS documents, dot big text, dot small button, dot whatever that you want to call the classes. And just to mention, IDs and classes should not contain spaces because they shouldn't. If you want to use a space, you can use a dash or an underscore instead. All right, so now back to the CSS example. It will probably appear, well, a little bit more clear to you what this means. The body, the color of the body, this selects the body. So that means everything inside it applies to the body, and the color is red. So that means the color of the body is red. Cool. Moving on, JavaScript. I'm not going to explain too much because JavaScript is really complicated. So this is an example of JavaScript. The only thing I can say is you end each line with a semicolon. Further than that, I couldn't explain more in this example because it's very, very easy, simple, and JavaScript is actually really variable, and you can just explain JavaScript in one day. So yeah, anyway, that's it for my talking part. So today we're actually going to try to create a to-do list from scratch. So I'm just gonna go ahead and minimize this presentation. Oh, I'm just gonna quit PowerPoint. And what we're going to do is, you see, the thing is, you can use actually any what we call IDEs or development environments, integrated development environments. Well, those are like text editors, like your Notepad or I don't know, Notepad or whatever you guys use, text edit on Macs. But they are a bit advanced, so they have more features like autocomplete or like, I don't know, a lint, what we call a lint, or like arrow checking programs. So yeah, the IDE I'm going to use today is PHP Storm, which is mainly designed for PHP, but I know PHP, so I use that. But you can use any other IDEs. You can even use your Notepad on Windows. You can just open text edit and start typing. But for time's sake, I'm just going to create a new project in PHP Storm, and we're going to get started. All right. As you can see, I have a new project. I'm going to call it to-do list demo, but you can call it anything. And what we usually do is we create a folder for all of our stuff, so that for all of our web page, so that we can we know where our stuff is, and that would make things a little bit easier. All right. So as you can see here, we have our to-do list demo project. I hope it's visible to you guys. You see. Going to enter presentation mode so that you guys can see better. Cool. Can you guys see that? Can you guys see that? Cool. All right. So entering project view, I'm going to create a new file called index. So in web design, we usually call the main file, the very main file, index, because I don't know, this is a convention, but I don't know why we just do that. So index.html means that the default page for your website is going to be index.html. As you can see, upon creation, the IDE automatically generates a template document for me, so I don't have to do that myself. But as you can see, can I move this down? Yeah, cool. All right. So as you can see, did someone say something in Thai? Oh. All right, Tad. I'll be answering. Title tag. Title tag would be explained later over here. Cool. So nothing big. I'm just gonna let you guys see this template. So as we talked about, this is what we call an HTML document. So in HTML documents, actually, you start each document with this dot type. So it's kind of like a double. It's kind of like telling the computer that your document is an HTML document. So there are many other dot types, like I don't know, XHTML or XML, but yeah, we're just gonna do that in the beginning. It doesn't really do anything. It's just telling the computer what your stuff is. And as we talked about, ignore this line 18 for now. As we talked about, we wrap everything inside HTML tag. So as you can see here, everything here is inside the opening and closing HTML tag. I'm just going to indent this so that you guys can see better. So this is an opening HTML tag, and this is a closing HTML tag. And in between them, we have an opening head tag and closing head tag, and an opening body tag and a closing body tag. And in between the opening head tag and closing head tag, we have a meta tag. As we talked about, meta tags are for meta information. So this says char set UTF-8. What this does is that it prevents your document from from displaying random garbage characters. It's basically telling the browser is UTF-8, so that's a standard in characters. But we're not going to go deep into that today. As long as it's there, you have to use it. And for title, well, apparently it's self-explanatory. It's a title, so you put here the title of your web page, and you can call it whatever you want. Say, I don't know, say to-do list, and yeah, that's it. So we have set up our basic HTML file, and we're going to start writing. So before we start writing, I would like you guys to close your eyes and think about what it would look like. So as we said, HTML is the skeleton of the web page. So think of what your web page is going to be like. Say I'm going to have a title here. We're going to have an input box here. So for our to-do list project, we need to have a title first and a place where people can write what they're going to add into the to-do list. And we're gonna have an add button. And below all of these, we're gonna have the actual to-do list itself. Cool. So what we're going to do is, we're going to have a header. So in between this header tag is a header, apparently. But in between this header, we can have a title. So as I've explained, H1 is a title. So I'm just going to write a title here. Well, it's a heading rather than a title. I should correct that. A heading is actually displayed inside the content of a web page, but a title is like the title for the entire page. But you can call it whatever you want, I guess. So we're gonna have a title called say I explore to-do list, I don't know. And that's pretty much it for our header. Nothing really fancy. So we're gonna have the actually main, pardon me. We're gonna have the actually main part of our document. So we're gonna use main. And inside this main is, we're going to separate that into different sections. So we're going to type section. And the first section we're going to use, I'm just going to use ID here so that we know what we're writing afterwards. This is going to be the new content section. Okay, you can call it whatever you want, but I'm just going to call it new content section over here so that, open the chat box over here, so that you guys know what it's about. And so this is a section, the news content section. And in this section, as I've explained before, you will need a place for people to type, and you will need a button that says add, right? So in order to do that, I'm going to use what we call an input box. So if you still remember what an input box is, it's a box where people can type and select things. So all forms like Google form or whatever you guys talk about, they'll use is based upon this form elements, and a very major form elements is called input. Okay, so there are a lot of attributes I can use with input, but here I'm going to say the type is, the type is text. So you can type inside it. So this would output as a text box. So yeah, right. So people can type inside it. But I'm just going to add an ID to it so that we can do it. It will be easier for us in JavaScript later. I'm going to call it new content. All right, done. But wait, before we do that, it's not, well, again, it's not required, but as you can see, my IDE says put a little bit red, yellowish color to it. That means there is a warning. So I'm just gonna click on it, and it says it doesn't have a label yet. It says missing associated label. So what this means is that for every HTML element, for every HTML input tag, there usually should be what we call a label. So that's like the little prompt you see usually in front of I don't know, your login form or whatever it is. But in this case, we wouldn't have a label because we're going to have a button after it. So I'm just going to associate a label that is empty, so it doesn't do anything. And as you can see, labels are for. So say label for new content means that this label, if I write anything in it, is for new content. But we're just going to leave it empty. See, we don't type anything inside between the opening and closing tag. That means it's empty. So we're just going to leave it empty because we're not really going to use that. But anyway, we are going to also have a button. So I'm going to type button. And this button is going to say add. Simple as that. I'm going to give an ID to the button. I'm going to call it add content. All right, oh, and there's also a little warning here. So for HTML tags, usually you will need what we call a long attribute. So you're basically saying what the language of the document is. So we're going to give it a value of en, so that the computer knows that this is an English, an English web page. You can if you want to make it Chinese, you can do zhhance for simplified Chinese, or zhhant for traditional Chinese, or you can use chcn for mainland China Chinese, or you can use I don't know, SG, I don't know, something like that. But anyway, we're just gonna give it en, so it's English. All right, so we're actually gonna run this and see how it looks. It's gonna look really disgusting because we don't have CSS, but I mean, I hope it works. All right, 1 second. Okay, so as you can see here, I mean, we pretty much have a decent add kind of thing, this decent form. So you can type blah, 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 and you can click add, but nothing would happen because we haven't written anything yet. But it looks something like this, and that's pretty cool. So we have this header, and we have this this input name, input box, and we have this little button. And another thing that we have to know is to use the inspect tool. So the dev tools provided by Chrome and Firefox and Safari, whatever browser you're using, is very powerful because we can actually see the content of everything. So say, as you can see, this is exactly what we wrote, right? So we have head, meta, title, body, header, our H1, and between our main tags is our section, and between our section is our label, input, and button. Everything is there, and everything is displaying correctly, which is good. And as you can see as well, over here, it has this little arrow before each of these tags. As you explained, it's kind of like a hamburger. So you can expand this level by level. So you can expand the body tag, and you can see what's inside the body tag. And you can expand the header tag to see what's inside the header tag, and you can expand the main tag to see what's inside the main tag, and so on and so on. So using DevTools is a really helpful tool if we want to, debug later to see what's wrong in our HTML document. Anyway, so we're done with our add content section, and it's already 9:34, so I have to speed up a little bit. We're going to have another section called what is this? To-do list section. So this is the part where the actual to-do list will be in, and in order to do that, we're going to have a table. All right, we're going to have a table to display the to-do list. So I'm just going to go ahead and type a table, and the ID is, we're going to give it an ID of to-do list. ID is not necessary, but I don't know. I usually use ID to identify what each of the element, what each of the element does. But you can choose not to do that. Up to you. Anyway, inside our table, there are usually two or three tags. The first one is called t-head. So that is the header of our table, if that's clear. And there's usually also a t-body. So that's the body of your table. And sometimes there's also a t-foot, sorry, but we don't usually use that. So in this case, we're just going to do t-head and t-body. Anyway, inside our t-head, we're going to have a role. So in HTML, roles are defined as tr, so table roles. You can kind of think of it like that. T-head is like table head, t-body is table body, tr is table role, and so on and so on. So inside this new role of table, you can have what we call a table header. So this is a header cell for our table. So yeah, something like that. And inside this header, we're going to have, well, we're going to leave it blank for now. And in the second header of our role, we're going to call it item. And in the third section, header of our role, we're going to have call it action. You don't have to worry about what it means now because if I run it, you'll see what each of this means. All right, so we have, oh, well, we're going to leave this t-body empty for now. All right, let's run it. Actually, you know what? I'm just going to put some random text in the TR so that you guys can see what this does. Say go to the park. And we're going to have a button that says remove. All right. Run it. Okay, so this is what it's going to be sort of look like when we, did I use TH? Oh, my apologies. This is supposed to be TD. So TD are for regular cells. TH are for header cells. Sorry. Okay, here. Okay, good. So inside here, as we see, what our to-do list is going to look like something like this. So if we type something, and we click add, say if we type go to the park, and we click add, and it's going to appear on the list. And under this items column, it's going to be go to the park, and under this action column, it's going to be a remove. So when we click on remove, it's going to remove itself from the list. But anyway, I'm just going to enable the border here. So deprecated, whatever. So you guys can see what each of this is, sort of. So you can see this is the item column, and this is the action column, and so on and so on. And yeah, just to let you guys see. But don't use border in actual production environment because, well, it's deprecated. So by saying deprecated, we mean it's no longer recommended. So you can still use it, but you know, it's just not good, I guess. Anyway, so we have table head, and we have this simple table. I'm just going to delete this role because we're going to add roles with JavaScript later. And okay, so this is the very basic structure of our HTML document. I mean, if you wish, you can add a footer and say, I don't know, made with love. Use love by Frank, whatever, and you can see there's a little footer there, but you don't really have to do that. I just like to do that because it's kind of my tradition. Anyway, next up, we're actually going to create the JavaScript file that we're going to be using. So, all right, in this example, we're going to use something called jQuery. I don't know if you guys have heard of it before, but it is actually a very, very powerful tool that can help, well, explain things, make things easier inside our JavaScript. But before we can do that, we would have to copy the jQuery actual script to our project because, well, you can use it from the web, but that's going to be very slow. So I'm just going to copy jQuery from another project that I did. Okay, so I'm going to remove that, and delete. Okay, leaving only jQuery over here. So as you can see, if I open it in Finder, in normal Finder, does it show up? If I open it in normal mode, open jQuery, you can see there's a JavaScript file that can be used directly, and pardon me, there's a math file, but you don't have to worry about that now for now. So the jQuery 3.5.1.min.js means the version of jQuery in this case is 3.5.1 and it's minified. So that means it's ready for production, but you don't have to worry about that. So anyway, in order to actually use jQuery inside our little project, we're going to use what we call a script tag. So a script tag, what it does is it inserts JavaScript inside your HTML document. But in this case, we're going to quote this script from another place. So we're going to use what we call a source attribute so that, you know, HTML document knows where we are quoting this from. and we're just gonna link it to our jQuery JavaScript. All right, so by writing this sentence, we're basically including sort of jQuery in our project. And oh, don't forget this. Don't forget to include our very own script.js inside as well. Okay, so what this means is that it includes our jQuery and our script.js inside our little project. So we're actually going to do this, do the JavaScript. I hope you guys can understand, but it's going to be a little tricky. So I'm just going to copy these selectors from a lot of my other project, which is also a to-do list. So input boxes and window. We don't need window. We don't have reload. We have new content and add content. We don't have remove all. We don't have to-do list body, and to-do list rows. Okay, cool. All right. So as you can see here, this is how we select an element in jQuery. So we have this $sign, which is what we call a jQuery sign, whatever we want to call it. And inside the $sign, we have like a little brackets. And in between these brackets, we have what we call a selector. So this is what you would like to use. This is what you would like to apply the JavaScript on. So by selecting body, we're basically modifying the body. And by selecting like, I don't know, new content and add content with a hashtag, so it's similar to CSS, we're basically telling jQuery to do whatever we want onto this element, the new content element, which is our input box. But anyway, we're going to quickly define a function. So a function is in JavaScript is what we call it's like you can reuse this kind of thing again and again because it's a function. So basically by defining function, we usually write this. So function name, and we're going to have parameters, and we're going to do something here. So this is the syntax for function, and when you call a function, you can just call it by its name, and if you want to, you can pass a parameter into it, but you don't really have to. So here we have our add new role function. So I'm including this also. Sorry, I forgot to explain. This double dash means it's a comment. So similar to HTML's comment, this is not executed, and it's used for you to find stuff. So this is our add new role function. So what this does is that it adds a new role into our HTML document, and the content of this role is a checkbox, and don't worry about this now. A checkbox and an item, and what is actually passed into this add new role. So this is a parameter, so we can use this a parameter over here. So this table row contains a table cell that has a checkbox, and a table cell that actually says the item, and a table cell that has a button that says remove. So we're going to trim this to remove extra white spaces, and we're going to append this thing into our to-do list body, and we're going to okay, ignore this line for now because it doesn't really matter. But anyway, oh wait, hang on, it does, whatever. Don't worry about it for now. I'm just going to do that. Okay, so that's our add new role function, and for a starter, we are actually going to write what happens when the add button is clicked. So so we're gonna start with step 1. So okay, we're gonna start from the very beginning. So add button on click, that means when you click the add button, we are going to get what the new content is. So we're going to define a new variable. So in JavaScript, we use variables to store values, to store whatever we want to. And we're going to let this item be the value. So val means value in jQuery. And we're going to get the value of the new content box. So whatever the user is typing is going to get the volume and store it inside something called item. So if not item, that means if item is empty, we're going to, okay, ignore this song for now. Okay, so we're just going to get the value of our new content. And we're going to call, as I've explained before, this add new role function over here, and pass this item to the new role function. And don't worry about cookies.set. Okay, so we're going to add this new role. And after that, we're going to clear the input box. So we're going to set the value of it to this empty string, so it doesn't have anything in it. All right, so I think that's pretty much what we can do right now. So let's try it. Does it work? Good. So as you can see, I can type something over here and click add, and it will actually go inside the table that we just wrote. And we left a little checkbox in front so that well, it's going to be checked. Anyway, we're already speeding through this now because we're running out of time. So I'm just going to over here, remove button. So I don't know if you guys see here, we define a button class remove. And I don't know if you guys still remember about classes. You can use multiple classes on an element. And in JS, in JavaScript, in jQuery, we can also select all the remove functions. So this document select basically means the whole HTML document. And when you click class remove, you are going to have this function running. So first, this is going to be a bit hard to explain. Okay, this is unnecessary. So we're going to have this button is this. So this is basically means this button. And the item, the content, the actual content is the closest row to this button. And we're going to remove this row completely from the list. And we're also going to check if the table is empty. We're not going to check if the table is empty. We're just going to stop it over here. So very simple. This button and this item, we're going to remove this whole row, table row, from the entire HTML document. Okay, I hope that's self-explanatory. So we're just going to try it over here. So df, blah, blah, blah. And if we click remove, as you can see, well, it removes the entire row from the HTML document. So now if we inspect this, find our to-do list, you can see that inside this T body, there are only 2 rows. So, and if we click remove on this, you can see that T validation is purple, which means it's changed. And there's only 1 row now. If we remove this even, now the T body is completely empty. And if we click add, you can see there's a new row is added to the T body as we type, blah, 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 blah. You can see there are more rows added to the T body when we type. Anyway, so that's our remove button. We're making this working. And there's also a part where we have to use a little bit CSS and which is the mark as done. So when you mark something as done, you're not going to, you're going to put a little strike through line in it. So first of all, when we click the done, we're going to first define a constant. This means constant, by the way. It's also a variable, but it doesn't change through the way. So a constant called this checkbox, and we're going to let it be this checkbox. And we're going to check, is this checked? So we're going to have this says, is this checked? So this checked is basically the prop checked. That means the jQuery detects if this checkbox is checked. And we're going to find this item because we want to strike it through. So this item is going to be the closest TD and the next TD. So the closest TD is not going to be this TD because unfortunately the closest only looks down. So this item is going to be the next TD of this closest TD in the HTML DOM. I know it's a little bit hard to understand, but Yeah, that's how we do it. And this row is the parent of this item. So remember our hamburger? So the parent, we will call the parent of the lettuce, the bread, and the parent of the meat, the lettuce. So this is what we do to get the parent of the row, of this item. And we're going to say, oh, this row is not, okay, never mind. We're going to say if this is checked, then we're going to put a line through the text. Otherwise, we're going to remove this line from the text. Okay, let's run this. I'm going to add some dummy stuff here. And when we check, as you can see, when we check this, it's the item has put a strike through line on it. You can see the style says text decoration line through. That means you put a strike through on it. And when we don't check it, it turns back to initial. Initial basically means, don't do anything. Just keep it as it is. And the same goes for all of them because we're using classes. So every time you select something, it's going to be like that, checked like that. All right, that's basically most of our content, but this is going to look a little bit ugly. So what I'm going to do is we're going to include a new style sheet called styles.css. And we're just going to include that in our HTML document. So in our HTML document, how we include a style sheet is by this. So we're going to have a link that rel style sheet means it's a style, it's a CSS, and href basically does the same thing as this src over here. So it defines where our CSS is. And as you can see, it's a self-closing tag, so I close it with a slash. And inside our styles.css, we are going to do a lot of fun stuff. All right. So don't worry about that. Don't worry about family for now. Don't worry about border stack. Don't worry about font size. No, we don't have that. We don't have that. We don't have that. Okay. We don't need that. Header, footer, nope. Text center, padding. Oh God. Okay. Oh, sorry. Anyway, we're going to need a fraction of our HTML code, so I'm just going to go through it quickly to keep the only things that we actually need. Input, chat box, checked, button hover, to-do list, TD, t-hat border, we don't have that, t-hat container, don't need border top, input type checkbox, that, input text. Now we're gonna, okay, let's see what it looks like. Well, that's not bad. So actually, okay, here. So I'm gonna explain it bit by bit. So this is the header. Oh, hang on, I'm just going to add, okay, never mind. This is a header, and remember how we talked about CSS syntax? We can actually join different elements together with this comma. So header, comma main, comma footer, means that everything inside would apply to all of these. All right, so text align center means we're going to make it center aligned. Padding, 10 pixels means there's going to be a little bit padding. Margin means that there's a margin, but we can remove that, and it doesn't really do much. And footer, we're going to make the footer white and gray, so it isn't like really big. And we're going to define the font size. So font size. Font size basically means how big this is supposed to be. Input. So our input element has a font size of 1 EM, so it is the same size of the rest of it. EM basically means how high a character is. So 0.7 EM basically means 70% of the height of our regular character. It's a relative unit. And input type is text. So we have this little padding over here. Actually, you know what? This 0.5 EM is. So the padding is 0.5 EM, which basically means that there's a little padding inside. If we remove this, it's going to look like this. So it's going to wrap it around, which is not good. So that's why we add this little padding so that it looks better. So that it looks like this instead of like, squished. Border, we're gonna have a border. Border radius is, how round the border is supposed to be. If we delete this, it's going to look like this, like square, which is not really good. So that's why we would add a border radius, which makes it like rounded a little bit. Button, the background of the button, the color of the button. This color doesn't mean the background, but this color means like the font color, the color of text on the button is white. We don't need to have any borders, and we have a little padding. So again, padding is used to, add, a little bit of padding onto it. And font size is 1 EM. Margin, well, we can delete this margin and get the same result. But yeah, if you want it to look better at margin. Cursor pointer, that means when we hover onto it, as you can see, if when I hover onto it, it's changed to a little hand over there instead of the little arrow we usually use when browsing web page. And this basically means that when you are hovering or when you put your mouse onto that button, it's going to change its background to royal blue, another color. So as you can see, this is one color and this is another color, and this is another color, a deeper color, blue, and to-do list, the margin of the to-do list is going to be auto. Wrap break word basically means that it doesn't go overflow. So if I have like an extra long, extra long stuff like this, it doesn't go all the way like this. All right. But anyway, to-do list, did we change it to to-do list? Yeah, okay. So for every table cell in to-do list, we're going to have text align left, but we don't really need that. Okay, so this is a very simple CSS that we added to this, and we can actually do more fun stuff with this. Say, select the whole HTML document, select the whole body, and we change the body of the background to, I don't know, say sky blue, something like that. And when we run it, it's going to look something like that, which is a little bit ugly, I know, but at least it's better than nothing. Actually, let me change it to light sky blue. Run it. Okay, didn't change much, but okay. And you can see that it's actually functional. If we put add, it's going to be there. And if we put here, it's going to be there. And if we put blah, 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 it's going to be there. And if we remove it, it's going to remove it. If we remove it, it's going to remove it. And yeah, that's fully functional. And you can do more fun stuff by, say, defining the font family or like the font, what the text should look like. Or I don't know, you can add more CSS to it so it looks better. And I have actually here a fully functional. I'm sorry if it's going to be a little bit over time, but I just want to show you. This is another example I did. Sorry if it takes some time to load. So this is the same to-do list, but I made a lot of extra CSS onto it. I had a random placeholder, and I can add and remove, and I store it in cookies so it doesn't go wild. I won't lose it if I refresh the page. And yeah, I also added a remove all button, and nothing to do for today, have fun, a little bit notice. So all of these can be done through HTML, CSS, and JS. And I just introduced you to a little bit of this, but actually you can do things a lot better. And I'm sorry if it's a little bit too fast for you, because, well, that's really a lot of stuff, but at least we have a working example. It's better than nothing. All right, so yeah, there are a lot of other stuff. I put it on GitHub, so I'm gonna hopefully Kathy will send out a link later. If she doesn't, it's fine. But you can find my little to-do list project on GitHub, and you can try to run it and see how it goes. And you can also dive into how I created my stuff. So this is my index.html. You can see that. And you can also go into my script and see what I added to the script, how I did the random placeholder, if you have interest. And you can you can just look through my stuff and see what I added. And yeah, other than that, I've got pretty much nothing much to say. So hopefully I'll upload this to my GitHub as well, so you guys can see today's sample. And yeah, Kathy, are you available? Can you send the thing on the chat, or do I have to send it myself?
I don't have the link, so maybe you can just send it in the chat.
I'll send.
And
Yeah, I'll send it in the
have,
chat, and if you want to, and we're gonna have a Q&A, right?
yeah. Does anyone have any questions? Feel free to send it in the chat below. And I think someone asked about title.
Yeah, I explained that in a
all right.
way.
That's great. So does anyone have any other questions?
I'm going to send this link to everyone so that you guys can have a look.
Yeah, so there's a link, and also if you want to look back on the seminar, it's going to be posted on our YouTube channel, and you can feel free to check that out as well, because we have lots of seminars on our YouTube channel. And if you can't access YouTube, and you can definitely go on our Bilibili account, and that's accessible everywhere. And hopefully you guys really enjoyed the seminar. If you guys have any questions, make sure to contact iExplore Club, and then we will direct you to Frank, who will answer all your burning questions regarding web design. So yeah, so if you don't have any questions for now, we'll just end it here for today. Thank you so much, Frank, for providing this awesome seminar. And thank you so much, everyone else, for coming here. It was really a pleasure just being here with you all. So yeah, thank you guys so much. And I hope that all of you will have an amazing day. Thank you.